scary stories that have happened to me, as well as some that have happened to my friends and family members. So, I guess to start us off, I will start with my own personal paranormal experience. This is probably the only paranormal experience I've ever had, and I've told it maybe once before on a past video. But what happened was, I was sitting on my bed one night. This was years ago, probably 6 years ago. It was like before I graduated high school, and I was living in my parents' basement, and I was the only one that slept down there. And I was sitting on my bed, and I was texting my friends, whatever, and across from my bed there was like a shelf on the wall, and it had a mirror attached to it, if that makes sense, as well as like little hooks under the mirror so you could like hang stuff on it. Like I would hang my hoodies or like my backpack. Anyway, so I had a ton of hoodies. Like, I'm a hoodie person. I love to wear hoodies. I think they're like the cutest article of clothing. And so I had a bunch of hoodies, and I was texting, and out of the corner of my eye I saw a black mass. I don't know what to call it. It was like a black ball like this big, and it like shot across the floor, and I literally thought I was just seeing things, and it was silent. I didn't hear a single thing. It was quiet in my room. I didn't hear anything, but I saw it, and I looked up, and I was like, okay, I literally just imagined that. But my hoodies were swaying back and forth like something just like brushed across them. And so that was like really scary for me. I went up to my sister's room and I told her what happened, and like I was freaking out. But that is my only paranormal experience I've ever had. I didn't feel like anything evil or like a dark presence. It was just like shocking, you know? So the next story is pretty creepy. I honestly love the scary stories that are just creepy, like experiences that happened with like stalkers or, you know, creepy like Home Alone stories. I love that type of stuff. So this next one is kind of similar to that. So one of my best friends, her name is Christina, and this was like the first time we ever hung out, and I'm a photographer, and she was like an aspiring model at the time, and so we were having a photo shoot and just like hanging out, driving to different locations and taking pictures. Well, we were in this neighborhood, and we saw this abandoned house, and it was kind of like in a field, like super creepy. And so we drove our car up to the house. There was like a dirt road that went to this abandoned house. All the windows were gone, the door was missing, whatever. And we're like, let's take some pictures in there, like it'll be so unique and cool and whatever. So we go into the house, and we're like walking around investigating because it's like creepy. I love abandoned buildings. I literally have a Pinterest board of just abandoned locations that I think are so interesting. Anyway, we're in there for maybe like 10 minutes taking pictures, and we like heard something I think it had like an upstairs or something, and we heard like it sounded like somebody was walking around upstairs, and so we got so scared, and we were like, oh shit, and we jumped out the window and ran back to my friend Christina's car, and I was the one driving because she's the worst driver in the world. And so as we were driving away, I looked in the rearview mirror, and there was someone standing at the front door watching us drive away. I literally just gave myself goosebumps telling that story. I love this. It's like Halloween vibes. I love fall. I love this crap. Okay, and next, this one's not too terrible. It's like nothing crazy, but there was another abandoned, it was like an abandoned factory that people would go, and it was like a huge place. There was like multiple abandoned buildings. I believe it was a tire factory, and it was probably 20 minutes from where I lived. And so me and two of my other friends went, and it was at nighttime. My friends, Jacob and Whitney, and I'd been to this place before, and it's a pretty tall building. It's probably like 4 stories, I guess, and there's like little staircases, like metal staircases you can take up to like the highest point. Anyway, first of all, a bird pooped, and it landed on my brand new 21 Pilots hat. Just a side note. And then we decided to go upstairs, and we had like our flashlights, our iPhones, I guess, and we decided to go to the top floor. And like I said, it was probably 4 or 5 stories up. It's pretty tall. And on the top floor, there was this small room, and there was a mattress, and there was like a sleeping bag and a chair and like all this trash, like wrappers of food and chips and all this stuff, like someone had been living there. And I looked at the corner, and in the corner was just a giant pile of human poop. Like, they just pooped in the corner because there wasn't a toilet, you know? And it was really creepy. Like, somebody was straight up living there, and I was like, guys, okay, we gotta go. This is so awkward. Like, what if this person who lives here, like, walked in on us, just like in his room, I guess? Like, it was so creepy. Obviously it's just some homeless person, and I'm sure they're not really like dangerous, but who knows? Homeless people sometimes come across as like crazy, you know? Even though I know not all of them are, obviously. Anyway, we left, and that was that. And I have one more other abandoned building story. So this is there was an abandoned house, like really, really close to my parents' house in Utah. It was literally my parents' house, then there was like a field, a road, another field, and then the abandoned house was like right there in the middle of that field. I don't know why they're like in fields, it's really weird. But that's literally like how both of these abandoned houses were. And so we decided to go one night into this house, me and some friends from like the neighborhood, and we only had one flashlight. And I'd gone into this house during the daytime, and it wasn't very scary. And we saw that there was a basement, and it was like one of those staircases that you see in a horror movie that is completely like dark wood. The paint is like peeling away. Sorry. And it's just such a creepy vibe. The door was like this old wooden door, and it just looked like a straight up dungeon, okay? So we're like, we gotta go down there. And like I said, there was probably 3 or 4 of us, and one kid had the flashlight, and it wasn't me. So we start going down the stairs, and I think the person with the flashlight was in the back. I don't know why, but he was. So he was like shining the light over us as we walked down the stairs, and it was like a really creepy vibe. The ceiling was super low in this basement, and I remember we went over to the corner, and there was like a big hole, like, I don't know how to explain it, but it was almost like there was another room, but it like dropped off like super deep down, like into the earth. I don't know how to explain it, but it was like this hole in the basement that went even farther down. And there was a ladder that went down, and we were gonna try to go down there. But the kid in the back with the flashlight got like super freaked out, and he like panicked, and he ran back up the stairs, and we were stuck in the basement without a freaking flashlight, and we like were so mad at him because he was the only one who had a flashlight. And so we all freaked out because we're in the dark in this creepy ass basement, and we all run towards the stairs, and we're all struggling to get back up, and we gave him like the hardest time about leaving us in the dark after that. But yeah, we never actually went down there again. They ended up tearing that house down, which kind of sucks, but yeah, it's pretty creepy. Okay, next. This one's actually pretty terrifying. It happened to a family relative of mine, I believe. I don't remember exactly who it was, but I was on this camping trip with some family, and I think it was like one of my uncles, and we were all sitting around the campfire telling scary stories. And for whatever reason, this guy had a lot of good ones, but one that I will always remember is the story he told. He pretty much was, like, I think he was road tripping, or he was driving somewhere late one night, somewhere far, and basically, like, he was kind of in the middle of nowhere, and he was driving, and suddenly in the middle of the road there was like a line of people in black hoods, like cloaks I guess, all holding hands across the road. And he like got scared. He didn't know if he should stop or what, but his gut, like his instincts were just like floor it. Like he was scared, and so he just like slammed on the gas and he drove straight through them. And like just before he hit them, they like broke apart and let him go. And he said that they like slapped his windows as he passed by. So creepy. And then it turns out like the next day or the next week or something, he read some article or saw on the news or something that some lady stopped for them and they ended up killing her. And so that terrifies me. If you guys ever see a line of people across the road, just floor it. Super sketchy. Okay, another one that happened to my cousin. Her name is, I'm not gonna say her name I guess, but she basically had this crazy paranormal experience, which it's like sometimes hard for me to believe paranormal experiences because they're just like kind of crazy to think about, you know. It's like I don't know if that's real, but this is someone who was like very religious. Well, she was like Mormon and all this stuff, her family's religious, you know. Pretty much everyone in my family is Mormon, except me. Anyway, she was staying in this hotel, and I think she was on vacation somewhere, just staying in some random hotel or motel, and she had a boyfriend at the time, I believe, and, you know, they don't sleep together because they're like Mormon, and so they had separate rooms. And so in the middle of the night, she was in a room by herself, and she woke up, and she says that she saw 3 like black hooded figures standing around her bed, and she couldn't move, which makes me think it was some type of sleep paralysis. And suddenly her mattress flipped over, and she like flipped onto the ground, and she got up and ran to the door, but she said that she like couldn't get to the door. Like she could see it, but it felt like there was like a brick wall in front of her. And so she like screamed, and apparently soon after that, everything was normal, and she got out and she went to her boyfriend's room, and the next day they had like a bishop or a priest or whatever come and bless the room because she was going to be staying there for a while. And that one will always creep me out, and the fact that it happened to my cousin, who wouldn't make something up like that. Like, that's so crazy to me. So I don't know if it was like sleep paralysis, if it was like a demon, I don't know. But it's very scary to think about. And I think that if you ask her about it, she like does not want to talk about it. So yeah, pretty terrifying. Okay, so I have a few more. This next one is my personal story again, and it's just a creepy story that had to do with a person. So this was like maybe a year after I had moved out of my parents' house, and I was living in a city called Provo in Utah. And there was like a downtown area, downtown Provo, and I'm a night person. I like to go on drives and listen to music and think and all that type of things. So one night I was in downtown Provo, and there was a red light, and so I stopped. I was the only one at the intersection, and I looked to my left, and there was this guy walking across the crosswalk, and he looked kind of sketchy. I don't know, maybe that sounds like judgmental, but he just looked a little rough, I guess. Anyway, he's walking across the crosswalk, but before he gets to my car, he starts walking like around the back of my car, and he walks to the passenger side of the back of my car, and he tries to open the back door. Luckily I had it locked, like I was sketched out. I locked the door, but this guy literally, I heard him trying to open my door, and I was like, oh my god, and then he just walked away. And I was like, what the hell would have happened if my door was unlocked? Would I have been killed? I don't know, but it freaked me out. Alright, this next story is my stepsister's friend's story that I remember. It was this girl, I think her name was like Kelsey or something. I really don't remember. It was a long time ago that I heard this story. But this was when I think she was in high school or junior high. So this girl, Kelsey, we're just gonna call her that. Kelsey was apparently babysitting some kids that she knew the parents. They were like neighbors or something like that. And they had like a couple kids, and she was babysitting them one night while the parents were on a date or something like that. And so, in the middle of the night, when the kids were asleep, I guess, she heard someone knock on the door. And she was like, oh, that's random. And so she walks over to open the door, and she said she got a really strong feeling not to open the door, and she was like, okay, what's going on? And so I guess there was a window kind of like on the side of the front door that you could like look through and see who was at the door. And she looked out the window, and there was two guys with knives just like in their hands. And so she freaked out and like called the police, and I guess when the cops showed up they took off running or something. I don't know, but that always creeped me out hearing that story. Okay, and last story is my sister's true scary story. Basically, another babysitting story. This is why I never babysat. Anyway, my sister and one of my cousins, who is a girl that is also the same age as my sister, they were babysitting some kids, and this was probably, they were like 12, 11, I don't even know. They were young, but they were babysitting some kids, and I guess they were just having like a fun time, whatever. And then once they had put the kids to sleep, they were just hanging out in the living room, like watching TV and stuff. And there was, I guess, a guy that they saw in the backyard who had a Scream mask on. And he started like looking in through the windows, and they like freaked out and turned the lights off because they didn't want to be seen by this guy. And they were like, grab the phone, grab a knife, whatever. And this guy started like walking around the house, pounding on the windows, and they were like screaming, freaking out. And they like locked themselves in the kids' room, I think, that were awake now, I'm sure. And they called her parents, my cousin's parents, and they started laughing. And they were like, what? They're like, yeah, we told the neighbors that they could come prank you. And I guess it was just a prank. They were just being funny, but they were like genuinely scared for their lives. And my sister says it was one of the scariest experiences she's ever had in her life. But yeah, I just wanted to end this video on kind of a funny note, I guess. Just a silly story, but it's still scary. Anyway, I hope. Did you guys hear that? Response playing Overwatch and he just said the F word. It's fine, demonetized. Hopefully you guys liked this video. I do plan on doing more scary story videos as October comes, and you know, I think October's tomorrow, right? It's September 30th. I don't know. Anyway, sleep well, guys. I will see you very soon. And don't get kidnapped.